This dude's name is Colin. I haven't seen this video, but I've seen the video that he's reacting to, and I'm just gonna get into it just because this is a whole movie, 50 minutes. So yeah, let's get into it.
YouTuber named Amio made this video titled Everything Wrong with Arcane Season 2, and this video is...
And I will say, I do agree with the Amio dude, so it'll be interesting to watch this video and see what this dude says.
So if you haven't seen it, I made a video critique on Arcane Season 2. Responses were mixed, but I'm happy to say that even the people who disagreed with me that the season sucked were respectful and thoughtfully laid out what their points of contention were. I'm just kidding. It was a lot of ad hominems calling the video clickbait or saying I'm media illiterate.
I sure hope this guy doesn't have a condescending attitude that would make people leave comments like this.
So let's talk about what
I haven't seen the Amio's first video. I've only seen the second video.
Doesn't make Season 2 good. Number 1, a lot of you said Season 2 wasn't as good as the first one, but was still great, and that saying it sucked is an exaggeration. No, it sucked. It's not just not as good as Season 1, this is horrendously bad writing. Number 2, shipping. Like, it's so powerful and inspiring that they show a gay couple kiss on screen. No. Number 3, your problems are just nitpicks. The season was great. These aren't nitpicks, they're structural problems with the logic, world building, story cohesion, and so on. More on this later.
I also hate when you point out big problems in like a piece of media and people just say they're nitpicks, but in this guy's video, there is a lot of nitpickings, and we'll get to there.
Number 4, I can't...
Okay, nitpicks are very essential when it comes to writing. They're one of the best forms of criticism that you can do for give to an actual writer. Obviously, this Amio dude is not giving it to the actual writers, but yeah, nitpicking is a very good form of critiques.
Can't believe you didn't understand the meaning behind Powder and Echo's
But whether or not it's annoying, that's, a whole other thing.
dance scene being animated at 4 frames per second. It's the same number as the time limit on the Z drive. Things like that are why Season 2 is mind-blowing and profound. Again, no.
But little details and things that subtly touch on the writing that they're trying to put forward, such as the themes, character arcs, etc., is literally something that contributes to making something really good. Like what?
Number 5, the art and animation are great. Well, yeah, but those are just tools to tell the story. If the story sucks, then it doesn't matter how good it looks. Number 6, Season 1 sucked too. Sure, bud, no one's falling for your troll comment. I think the biggest divide in the audience reaction can best be demonstrated by whether you thought Episode 7 was the best or worst episode. Many people thought it was emotionally satisfying and still draw My Little Pony characters in crayon, whereas those of us who can think logically and dress ourselves in the morning see it for the waste of space that it is. Let me put it like this. My favorite movie of all time is 12 Angry Men. If I stumbled across a YouTube review that said 12 Angry Men actually sucks, I'd conclude the reviewer is either mentally deficient or it just wasn't for them. I certainly wouldn't feel compelled to argue with them in the comments or hurl personal insults at them questioning their intelligence.
Genuinely zero self-awareness, like holy shit. As you can see, this is the kind of attitude this dude's bringing to this video. I can get being mad at comments and wanting to match their energy, but saying everyone that liked episode 7 or even this season are a bunch of children and people that can't think logically and you're the messiah that sees all and shit, like, just shut the fuck up. Just stop talking. And I just played this part to show you the energy that this guy kind of gives off, and I'm gonna be matching that shit completely, because if you want to pump yourself up as this big messiah guy, you see all the flaws in this show's writing. We're all a bunch of children and crayon eaters. I sure hope your criticisms are actually good. But the next part of this video is literally just him setting up the concepts for problems that he has in Season 2, and he'll go more into that later, which is what I'll be covering. But first, he has a section about nitpick.
Okay, so I do agree with the Amio dude, that episode 7, or just in general, that Arcane Season 2 is not very good. But episode 7 is my favorite, even though I do also agree that it is not, like, in the grand scheme of things, it, like, shouldn't have even been there. But in by episode 7, like, not even being that important to the general plot, but it being the best episode of the season also kind of makes the season worse in a way, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I also agree with this dude, with this Colin guy, that he did kind of come across that way, but, it is what it is.
Picks from Season 1, which all suck. So let's start with that.
But before getting to all that, I do have to acknowledge that while Season 1 is a masterpiece, it's not perfect.
It is perfect.
I do have a few minor nitpicks with it. Number 1, I don't like how in the fight scene with 16-year-old Vi on the catwalk, she's able to overpower multiple bigger and stronger opponents. Feels like the hero's plot armor so many action shows implement that Arcane really should be better than.
Just because this guy looks bigger than Vi, that doesn't mean he's faster, more skilled, or punches harder. There are UFC fighters that can lift way less than the world's best bodybuilders, yet can still punch harder. How strong you are does not contribute to winning a fight, when you're fighting someone way more skilled and faster than you. And most of the people Vi fights aren't even much bigger or are literally the same size as her, and she literally has gauntlets that make her hit extremely hard. It's like brass knuckles on steroids. This isn't a problem.
Number 2.
Yeah, no, Colin has a point, but it is kind of a little you can tell it is a little unrealistic. But then again, we see this all the time, but we also do see Vi getting beat all the time. So we see her lose fights as well. So it's not like she's just winning every single fight. The MEO dude kind of makes it seem like Vi is like one of those like Rey Skywalker type characters. They call them Mary Sues, where they win every fight and they're good at everything. Vi is not like that. And yes, it is a little unrealistic that she like immediately beat all these dudes and stuff, and it is what it is. But we also see her lose all the time as well. So
Marcus just so happens to have a chloroform rag to knock out Vi. Awfully convenient.
Ah yes, awfully convenient for an enforcer who has his equipment on him to have something that can knock someone out easily. Just like it would be very convenient if a cop brought a taser to a situation to de-escalate things. Awfully convenient, very.
I guess he could have just knocked.
So if I don't say anything, I might agree with Colin. Like in terms of, I was thinking about not saying anything here because like, yeah, it isn't very convenient that he has. It is not very convenient that he has chloroform. Like it is, and even if it is convenient, it doesn't matter. Like the AMO dude is gonna talk about that how he could have still knocked her out in any other way. So it doesn't matter. You get the same point either way.
Knocked her out with the butt of his gun or something, but it still annoys me. Number 3, when Jace and Victor are showing off their new Hex Tech tools to Heimerdinger, they almost accidentally kill his pet with a laser, and it's played off as a joke, when really, if that laser had been angled just slightly differently, it would have been killed.
And yeah, here, like, sure, he's gonna start saying how, Amio's gonna start saying how, they should have been, like, more like, oh my goodness, your pet just died, or whatever, right? But, you need some jokes every once in a while, and this is, like, not a big deal, either. And, of course, we're talking about nitpicks here, and I say, yes, nitpicks are very important, and this one could be, I guess, but I disagree with this one. And it's kind of funny because I agreed for the most part with Amio dude, but, I don't agree fully with him. So it's interesting to see Colin's takes as well here.
But the animal wasn't killed, and you literally see them all clench up after an obvious mistake. This is literally the equivalent of almost getting into a car accident and being mad that someone plays it off after being initially clenched up. Because at the end
By the way, bro, what is this game, bro? Is that Vi's character? What is this game?
of the day, no consequences came from this. And mind you, they literally don't move forward with Hex Tech during this exact scene. It's still being treated seriously. This is such a weird criticism.
Number 4, when Victor's altering his body with the Hex Core, Skye stumbles into the office and meets her demise when the door really should have been locked. Oh, wait, I rewatched the scene and it turns out I didn't remember she had a key. I guess that's fine then.
You are made of stupid.
So without further ado, let's tear Season 2 to shreds.
Let's begin.
Episode 1, Heavy is the Crown. There's an unnecessarily long music video segment, something that'll be a recurring problem. These segments are a problem because they rush and skip over stories that should be fleshed out.
No, all of these segments are literally just short-form storytelling, visual storytelling of stuff that's happening that can be moved along quicker because it doesn't need that much time, and it's just...
Okay, I agree with both, but I think it would have been better if Arcane just did a time jump from the get-go, and we saw the aftermath in terms of, like, we saw the aftermath and how everybody was feeling about it and everything, like Caitlyn's sadness and everything. We just saw that through, like, the, just actual story. I think the music videos were kind of cool, but I think there was, personally, there was too much music in this show. Like, even though the songs were really good, it was just like every 30 seconds there's a new song, new music video. And yes, I think they should have just skipped all the way. We don't start Arcane Season 2 with the aftermath of the destruction of the council room or anything like that, and to see who survives. We see who survives, like, we just see in a more natural way. And not that how it was shown wasn't natural, but just, I don't know. I'd like it. I think it would be better if we just did have a time jump right away. If that makes
Ended
sense.
upon later and fleshed out more later. And are you gonna actually explain why it's rushed, like what we needed more of? And I emphasize the needed. Are you gonna explain any of that, or is this goodbye?
Goodbye.
Jace is missing from the council deliberations despite being a counselor and the only person currently capable of producing hex tech, since Victor is in a coma and Heimerdinger's missing, meaning any vote on whether or not to use hex tech weapons is irrelevant without his approval.
Jace literally says he's done with the council and he stepped down, and he's working on keeping Victor stable. This isn't an issue. They literally say.
Yeah, I agree. Jace kind of just like doesn't really care. If they came up to Jace about it, like he's more focused on Victor. Yeah.
This in the show. Did you watch it? But nah, this is the guy that thinks logically while we all draw little pony characters or whatever the fuck he said.
Caitlyn inherits her family duties and titles instead of her father. This could be explained by matrilineal inheritance or the father marrying into the family, but that's headcanon. The show doesn't explain it.
You shouldn't need an explanation for something that isn't very important and can easily be inferred. It's called viewing a story in good faith, having common sense, and being able to infer things that aren't told to you directly. By this dumbass standard, it's a problem when a piece of media doesn't explain how a character got from their house to the store. Do you need the show to explain to you that the characters have to use the bathroom because we never see them take a shit? It's like, no, basic information and basic plot progression doesn't always need an explanation. Use that logical brain of yours, quote unquote, and infer things. We learned this in middle school. This reminds me of the people who criticize Captain America Civil War for Zemo being able to break into the facility where they were holding Winter Soldier so he could read out the words to him. It's like, gee, I wonder how this super secret spy who's really good at hacking things was able to fake an ID and get into this facility. I wonder. Like, you call people children, yet you can't make basic inferences based on information that we already know in the story or from real life.
Maddie says,
after the sheriff betrayed us.
The sheriff betrayed us. How is this common knowledge? The last time we saw Marcus, no one in the Enforcers or Piltover's government knew he was a traitor, and he died at the bridge by Jinx's butterfly bombs. Any investigation into him would have likely been discontinued. She knows because the audience knows, a problem that'll keep popping up throughout the season.
He was literally about to kill Caitlyn for no reason on the bridge, and Maddie knows Caitlyn, and Maddie literally just referenced previously in this scene that she was talking to Caitlyn with people in the council. Why is it hard to believe that Caitlyn would have told people about this, you actual moron?
During the memorial attack, Vi runs to get Jace's hammer. Now, how in the world does she have enough time to run all the way across the courtyard, up multiple flights of stairs in the academy building, find Jace's office, and come all the way back? Also, the hammer and all other dangerous hex tech devices are presumably locked up for security reasons. Good thing she just so happens to run into one guard alone with the keys. How convenient.
You haven't explained an actual problem here at all. Literally all you've said is, wow, Vi gets to the building.
Okay, so when I say nitpicks are valuable, they are valuable, but you do have to kind of pick your battles with this, and especially the part where it says how, there's one guard. Well, aren't the other guards like doing stuff? And we've already kind of established that in season 1, this same exact guard is kind of just like the lone guard who like walks around here, and you can maybe nitpick season 1 for that. Or criticize season 1 for that, but we've kind of already established that in season 1, so I think saying that here is kind of irrelevant.
Building really fast. As if 1, the scene isn't cut up to make it look faster than it probably is in canon, and 2, we've literally seen in season 1 how quickly Vi can get around, and it's not convenient for her to run into an enforcer in a building where they literally fucking reside, and are all currently at right now. And we see the same guard inside the building in season 1 doing the same thing he's doing right now, guarding the inside.
Spears cut through the Shimmerman armor when bullets were ineffective.
Okay, so prove that the bullets should be more effective than Embessa.
Okay, the one thing I hate about these shimmer dudes, I don't know what they're called, but like the dudes in the big armor, is that in season 1, when we first see them, they're like shredding the enforcers, right? And then Vi and Jace are just like able to, and we see how like fast they are and everything, and they're like faster than like normal people are able to move. And then Vi and Jace are just like able to like take them on down super easily. That's something I don't like. And then here in season 2, they kind of make them seem, they don't seem weak necessarily, but they seem kind of like not as strong or as capable as they were in season 1. Maybe something's changed, but yeah, I think there's some inconsistency there. But that's not really what these guys are talking about.
His army spears. Prove that our army can't throw the spears with more force than a bullet. Prove that the material that the spears are made out of aren't denser than a bullet. Can you do that? No. And also, this is literally a lie. The bullets literally do damage to the Shimmer armor at multiple points in this fight. And mind you, their armor is progressively getting weaker as they continue to take damage.
After the memorial battle, it's stated,
This battle was on your soil. Down there, you'll be on their terms.
No. The only reason the Shimmermen had the upper hand at first is because Piltover was caught off guard by a surprise attack and wasn't using Hextech weapons. This is a complete reversal from Jace stating in Season 1 that the Undercity doesn't stand a chance.
This point is so stupid for multiple reasons. When Vi says this, she hasn't hit the point where she's committed to wanting to go after Jinx, and she's trying to deter Caitlyn from pursuing war because that's not what she wants. She literally only joins after Caitlyn says, "If I go after your sister alone, one of us comes back in a box." She finally reaches a point where she agrees to go with Caitlyn and join the Enforcers because she knows Caitlyn won't stop and she doesn't want her to die going after Jinx alone. And also, if they just go into the Undercity, they will be at a disadvantage. They don't even have a lot of Hextech weapons right now, and Jace isn't even making any more of them. And at the point Vi says that, the Council hasn't even reached an agreement on the usage of those weapons. And even when they did have them in Season 1, it was still a really hard fight that they almost died from in Season 1, ambushing just one Shimmer plant. And I don't know why you even brought up what Jace says, as it literally has no relevance to the context of.
Yeah, so he said that they almost died, and that's not necessarily untrue, but I think it was just too easy for them to beat these Shimmer dudes, especially just like how they so quickly like destroy their forces. And sure, you could say, oh, the Enforcers aren't as good as fighting as Vi or Jace. And I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've seen even Jace fight, and yeah, he looks strong and everything with his shirt off. But that, like just how Colin said before, that doesn't mean you can fight. And sure, I can handle that Jace knows how to fight. But it's just the fact that the Shimmer dudes, like, they're so fast, and then they're not as fast as they were initially when they're fighting Jace and Vi. That's what annoys me.
Vi saying it, especially given the information that she knows and how she would probably take a fight with Topside if they were in the Undercity. It's the basic concept of home team advantage. And also, when Jace does say that in Season 1, they make it very clear that Jace is being naive and arrogant, hence part of his character growth in the first season.
At the second council meeting underground, Jace is once again absent.
I'm going to resign from the council. Pay attention, and you can learn a lot.
How is Caitlyn planning to take down the various organized gangs in the Undercity with a measly 5-man crew? And this elite strike team includes 3 characters we barely know and who, as far as we know, have no prestige or status among the Enforcers. One of them is Loris, the big shield guy, who barely has any dialogue the entire season and is seemingly a drunken hobo who may not even be an Enforcer. And the other one of them is this green dude who literally has no dialogue the entire season. We don't even learn his name. But they showed their valor in the attack. That's not enough of a reason. The Elite Strike Team's new members aren't armed with Hex Tech, only Caitlyn and Vi are. Maddie has a gun that shoots smoke bombs, Loris has a shield, and the green dude is armed with a baton. Real fearsome team you got there.
Holy shit, you're a moron. Did you just forget that they literally pump gas into the Undercity so they blatantly have an advantage? And you literally show no proof that these people aren't capable of handling the job of being on the strike team and doing these small coordinated attacks that they pull off in episodes 2 and 3. Also, we literally see in episode 2 that Maddie has a pistol, so it's clear that this isn't all the gear that they bring. And I like how he says, guys, showing that they're capable fighters isn't enough of a reason for them to be on this team. Like, what the fuck am I listening to? And these were all the points that he has for episode 1. Funniest thing is that even if I was to agree with all these fucking brain dead points, this is nowhere near enough to call the episode bad. We're 11 minutes into his video and not a single good point has been made, but let's keep.
Colin did make a good point here that they're just putting gas down in Undercity and everything, so they have like an extreme advantage. Like, even if it was just like Caitlyn that went alone, but I don't know. I do agree with Amio that yeah, there should have been more soldiers. There should have been at least in real life too. When you have police officers, when you have a situation, even if it's like not that big of a situation, bro, there's always tons of cops. And then something like this, like you would think that there's lots of cops. Maybe there's like behind the scenes or something like that. Something they didn't show. Something happened off camera. Like a bunch of cops. Some of the enforcers didn't want to do it because they're like, oh, I don't want to poison these people, but because there's lots of stuff that obviously happened off screen. But yeah, no, I agree with both here. They both do have good points. Colin says that Amio's point is not good, but I think they all should have had Hex Tech weapons. And the Loris guy kind of joining, he's just some random dude. I don't think he was an enforcer before. Maybe he was. I could be wrong, but I think he's just some random dude, and Vi just kind of vouched for him, and Caitlin's just like, oh well, I guess whatever. One thing though is that there should have been more build up towards Vi actually agreeing to even being part of this team. But yeah, just because Maddie, the fish dude, and Loris don't have wear helmets doesn't mean that they're because obviously, like in fiction, the characters, when you have a bunch of soldiers, the characters that don't wear the helmets or masks or whatever type of uniform they're supposed to have is the boss character, or like the really cool guys, or like the capable guys. Just because like we always have to see their faces, and then the ones that do we wear masks and we don't see their faces, they're just like the noobs, the scrubs. And just because like they don't have their helmets on or whatever doesn't mean they're not, or they are good at fighting. But Colin also said we don't have any proof that they're not good at fighting. But yeah, anyways, I just think that there should have been more. Even if there weren't named characters, maybe just more like normal enforcer type dudes.
Keep going.
Episode 2, Watch It All Burn. The episode opens with yet another music video.
And this music video gives us insight and setup for what's going on in the Undercity right now and how Jinx is feeling. Explain the problem.
Isha is a shallow, manipulative plot device meant to position Jinx's character into certain story beats rather than feeling like a real person. She literally falls out of the sky onto Jinx.
One of the problems with music videos is that, yeah, it shows stuff that we might not even necessarily need to see, that we could infer if they didn't show it. But also, one of the problems is that we don't get any emotional connection with these characters and what they're going through. And actually, that's kind of not true at the same time, because like music can have a lot of depth and emotion to it, so we can, but it's not going to be as much as actually seeing the scenes, at least for most people. But there could be some people that disagree as well, so it is what it is. But I think for certain things they shouldn't have done music videos, but in certain things it is what it is. Don't care. I don't really care. They're pretty cool anyway, but yeah.
Jinx, rather than their meeting or relationship being based on any actions taken by Jinx
I'm kind of just indifferent on them.
herself. She's mute, and her background and circumstances are never shown. We don't really know anything about her, not even why she was being chased in the first place. She's the perfect empty vessel to project any of the audience's thoughts and feelings.
I don't think she's actually mute. I'm pretty sure she does say mommy when Savika is carrying her away, and Jinx is about to fight Vander. She does say mommy
onto without actually having a character. She's really more like a lost puppy than a little sister.
This literally isn't a problem at all. It's an inciting incident for Jinx's plotline. And stories have characters that are only there for the purpose of impacting a main character's writing. It's called an impact character. And I explain in way more detail what exactly Isha's role.
Yeah, but an impact character doesn't mean it's a good character. We had impact characters like Milo and Claggart in season 1. They were very good characters, and they didn't really do anything, but they impacted us, and they impacted Jinx and Vi. I think, there's people that do care about Isha's death and about Isha as a character, but I think they should have first built up Isha as her own character, with her own motives, because we don't even know her motives, and maybe her motives is just like, hey, I want a family. It can be as simple as that. It can be just anything really, or just like, hey, I want a big sister. Hey, I just don't want to be alone. It could be literally anything. Just a little detail on who she is and why she's there and what she wants, so she can be her own person. Kind of just an extension of Jinx. And yeah, I think it would have been more impactful if she was her own character. And I've said that so many times in just a few seconds, so I'm gonna stop talking now.
In the story is in the video that I made about Jinx in season 2. So go watch that video, because I'm not repeating a long 24-minute video to counter this one stupid ass point. And I think most people that did watch the show and liked it would understand what Isha's writing in and how impactful she is to the story. But even still, if you want that explained in more detail, I made a video.
And like I said, there is some people that do like Isha, so her character isn't just like she's a terrible character or anything. It's just she could have been better.
About that. And Isha's not there for the audience to project feelings onto. She's there to help Jinx grow as a character, and she fills that role as she needs to. She's a vessel for Jinx, not the audience. And he brings up the fact that we don't know why she's being chased or what her previous circumstances were, when 1, we don't even need to know that, and 2, we can clearly tell that her parents either died or abandoned her. And by this logic, Powder in the first 3 episodes of season 1 is bad, because her character in season 1 is literally, she wants to be as cool and effective as her sister, just like Isha does with Jinx. And another part of Isha's character, just like Powder, is that they both want to fight back against the Enforcers. She's basically Powder if she never became Jinx, and again,
I don't actually think Isha cares about fighting against the Enforcers. I feel like she only kind of cares just because she thinks that, like he already said, that he thinks it's cool and he wants to look up to she wants to look up to a bigger sister and everything. And that I did say oh, we should know something about her motives, and that's maybe one of the things we can infer, oh yeah, she wants to look up to her big sister and everything. But it is a little different though. than the whole powder situation.
I explained this in the video that I mentioned earlier.
Jinx's madness, trauma, hallucinations, etc. are magically cured, or at least repressed, by her relationship with Isha, when really, Jinx should still be a giant mess regardless, even more of a basket case after killing Silco, and in no position.
Yeah, so having Isha be around and Jinx caring for Isha, if you have certain types of issues, you're going, and especially the types of issues that Jinx has, with like, you know, losing everyone in her life, you're gonna obsess over this person. So Jinx is gonna obsess over Isha, and she's gonna, and we see so many times with Isha like being on off her own. Remember when she has like the hood on, she's like standing up on the roof or whatever, and everybody's watching her thinking that she's Jinx. Why would Jinx let her go off alone? Jinx is gonna be obsessed with her. Is gonna be like in a bad way obsessed, and is gonna not let her like do anything like even remotely dangerous. Keep her around. And that's gonna be, you know, she's gonna remember when she was a kid and how she was always running away and everything. And even though Isha is more capable than she was when she was a kid, she's not gonna understand that or see that, and she's gonna kind of throw her past traumas and or her past perceptions of life and ways of thinking and stuff when she was a kid onto Isha, and be like, oh, well, if I thought this way, then Isha must think this way as well. And there should have been a whole, you know, there should have been a lot more than what there was.
Position to take care of a child.
Jinx literally is still a mess in the first 3 episodes. Did you watch it? She only starts being more level-headed when she starts being with Isha.
Yeah, but she's not a mess in the same way. She's very different in the first 3 episodes, especially with her just like walking around and everything. And that's what Amio is saying. Whether or not that's like a good point, that's what he's trying to say.
More, and that was after a time skip, and her psychological stuff starts to be repressed. Kind of like someone who suffers from depression when they find some happiness in life. It's because Jinx is in a content place in her life right now, and Isha is bringing her happiness, as opposed to previously. And notice how right after that gets messed with in episode 4, and when Isha eventually dies, Jinx's psychological problems stop being repressed. I also explained this in more detail in my video, but I've said enough and explained why her psychological stuff doesn't just magically disappear. And also, at what point in the show does it say that Jinx is a good parent? The show never even says, or even implies this. They never say that Jinx should be the one taking care of Isha. They literally only connect over their similarities, and Isha really has nowhere else to go.
Yeah, but they also don't say otherwise. And you could argue that they show it, but they don't show it enough. But yeah, I would never think that they say that the show says that she's a good parent or a good sister or whatever.
Or even somewhere else she wants to be.
Isha is unrealistically competent and level-headed and unafraid of dangerous situations that would really...
Yeah, I don't really care about this point right here, that she's unrealistically... there's a lot of kids that are competent.
...realistically scare most people, let alone a child.
And she's not like unrealistically competent in the sense of like where she's like beating up everyone, and like she can't fight, you know. So I disagree with this point with Amio here.
Child of her age, and I could go on. There will be a bit more discussion about her later.
Okay, so first of all, you're unironically criticizing the fact that Isha isn't as scared as most kids, while showing a scene of her literally being scared. Second of all, Isha literally lives in the underworld where those kids will get hardened up quicker than most kids in the real world.
Yeah, and that's true. And we see, remember when Milo said that, oh, we were twice the person half Powder's age, right? Yeah, so this argument from Amio isn't a very good one. Sure, Powder wasn't competent or as competent as the others, but she was still competent in her own sense, because she was still, even though she wasn't as good as them as like running around in the roofs and getting away from the forces, she was still able to do that. But like most kids aren't going to be able to do that, especially up in Piltover, up in the upper city or whatever it's called.
World. This isn't even just a thing in fiction either. I myself had to mature and harden up to shit at a very young age because of my surroundings, whether it be physically or mentally. And also, Isha literally is scared of stuff in the first 3 episodes. She only grows more confident the more time she spends with Jinx. And even in episode 4, she's terrified when she's being sent to prison. Like, the whole premise of this fucking argument is so dumb. Guys, Isha isn't like most kids in real life, so she's unrealistic, therefore bad writing. Like, what the fuck? Guys, Tony Stark isn't like most people in real life, so these unrealistic, and therefore his writing is bad. Guys, most people who lose their parents at a young age aren't billionaires who are rageful and very good at everything on the face of the planet and dress up as a bat, so Batman's a bad character.
It makes no sense that everyone knows Silco is dead, but not how he died or that Jinx was the one who killed him. Caitlyn and Vi don't inform anyone in the Undercity despite being on the hunt for Jinx and plastering her wanted posters.
Yeah, nobody would know how Silco died, and obviously he's going to talk about Caitlyn and Vi bringing that up. Yeah, that's true, they could bring it up. But yeah, nobody would know how Ahsoka died. But it's true that that should have been a plot point. That there should have been questions on how he did die.
Up everywhere.
Especially
Savika wouldn't have protected her if she knew. In fact, nothing about the plot could have moved forward the way it did if Savika or anyone else in the Undercity knew Jinx was Silco's killer, so the information just never comes to light.
I've seen this criticism brought up multiple times, and I genuinely think you people have brain damage. You literally just explained why the Undercity doesn't know, because Caitlyn and Vi are the only ones who know, and Caitlyn wants to kill Jinx herself, and Vi doesn't really want Jinx dead truly, even if she says that. Vi, again, literally only goes with Caitlyn so that she doesn't die to go after Jinx.
And I don't know why Caitlyn would even care what the Undercity thinks, or like even be thinking like, oh, maybe I can, I don't know. I don't know why Caitlyn would even like tell the Undercity that Silco died from Jinx. I mean, maybe she could say like, oh, well, bring her to me or something. But other than that,
alone, and there are people in the Undercity that are literally already planning to turn her in anyway. They literally show this in the show, and there's nothing saying that Vi and Caitlyn are the ones who put up the wanted posters for Jinx, and there's also dialogue about this in the council meeting about why they don't pin everything on Jinx. People know Silco killed Vander, and guess what? He's still alive, and nobody's coming after him. You realize that a lot of people's lives literally got worse when Vander was dead, and Silco was running things? And why would Savika not protect Jinx if she knew? She literally says in episode 2, we don't give up our own people, literally referring to Jinx. And not only would Savika not be able to beat Jinx in a fight, but she also sees no point in killing Jinx even when thinking about it. And they instead bond over their own grievances with the stuff they have in common in regards to Silco, in order to help the Undercity. That's where Savika's motivations lie. She wants to help the Undercity and make things better. Killing Jinx or turning her in doesn't contribute to either of those things.
Smeech also doesn't inform Savika during their fight about this fact.
There's a deal to be struck here.
Smeech literally says in the clip you're showing that there's a deal to be struck here, and Savika doesn't care. We have no clue what he was going to say to her, but it wouldn't really matter because she literally just told Smeech earlier that she wouldn't give up Jinx. So why would Smeech even think that that would stop her?
Speaking on a broader point, things like this keep happening throughout season 2. The information is never learned by anyone for the entire season when it should be great for mining drama out of seeing people learn of Jinx's actions and how they react to her. But as I said earlier, the writers just leave good drama on the table. It's overly convenient for the sake of the plot and makes no sense.
It does make sense, and it really wouldn't even really impact the plot in any meaningful way if it did happen. Yes, we could have gotten more drama, quote unquote, but did we need that? No. It wouldn't even really add much to the story. We know how Savika feels about Silco's death anyway, and the only thing we would have probably gotten out of this is Jinx and Savika eventually coming to better terms with each other, which is literally what happens in the show, just in a slightly different way. Like, by this logic, it's a problem in season 1 that we don't see more of the reaction to Vander's death from the Undercity. There's some juicy drama being left on the table. Fuck season 1, man. God!
That's a good point, actually. I will say there is a time jump, but even that's not a very good counter-argument to what he's saying. So yeah, that is a good point. But I still stand by, I think there should have been at least a question brought. But even if it's not like a big plot point or anything, just to bring up the question, like, hey, who killed Silco? How did he die?
God damn it, like, what the fuck?
Jace and Victor's conversation is rushed and missing many important topics. Victor isn't interested in talking to...
I think that's kind of the point, though, of that scene. Victor's kind of just, like, dipping, and then Jace's like, bruh. I think that's kind of the point of the scene, so I don't know why he's saying this here.
Jace about the current state of affairs, his manufacture of Hextech weapons, and so on. Jace doesn't stop Victor from leaving, and neither one of them is concerned about Victor's current health, whether he can survive long-term outside his Hextech cocoon, or if his body poses a danger to anyone.
Victor literally brings up how he's disappointed that Jace didn't destroy Hextech, and they make it blatantly clear as to why he leaves Jace here. And Jace literally does say that there's so much stuff to find out about Victor bonding with the Hex Core, but when Victor brings up their problems, Jace stops thinking about any of that, and only about how he's failed, and what he's going through. And when Victor says goodbye, you can tell that neither of them are in a place emotionally to continue arguing with each other. It's the equivalent of arguing with someone in your house and walking out. You may think about that conversation differently after a couple minutes or an hour or so to cool off, but it makes complete sense in the moment. And afterwards, he can't do anything now that Victor's left, but he's clearly still concerned about the Hextech stuff, as Heimerdinger and Echo literally bring a connected issue to his attention, where he can do his best to figure out this more.
Victor has no motivation to go to a random spot in the Undercity and is apparently led there by Sky's ghost. Sky's ghost is never contextualized or explained. Is she literally the consciousness of Sky preserved in the astral plane by Hextech? Is she a figment of Victor's imagination? A narrative device? No answer.
This guy is literally the definition of a child. You have zero self-awareness. You need everything explained to you. This doesn't need to be explained to be 100% accurate and give you the 100% correct interpretation. They leave it up to interpretation interpretation for either of the things that you just mentioned, and that's not a problem for things to be left ambiguous for the audience to come to their own conclusion. Take the Joker in The Dark Knight, for example, with his backstory. I could even stretch the Joker example to what he said earlier about, oh, Isha's a bad character because we don't know her circumstances and backstory, blah, blah, blah. It's like, things can be left ambiguous. That's completely fine for a story to do. Not everything needs to be spelled out for you. That's one of the things I really like about Arcane. A lot of their writing stuff is subtle, and it makes it fun to analyze and pick apart the little things and details and stuff in the story to come to your own conclusion. Case in point, the next point that he's about to make and that I'm about to rebuttal.
Savika's new arm is
Yeah, I agree and disagree. But leaving stuff ambiguous in stories is actually a very good tool for storytelling. It's giving the audience be like, oh, well, what about this? What about this? But not be like a big plot hole or anything like that. But because us not knowing about a guy, that's not a plot hole or anything, right? So it's not that big of a deal. But I think someone should have asked the question maybe. But I also don't think Victor, I guess, could have asked her like, hey, yo, like, how are you here? Like, how am I seeing you? I thought you died. And then she'd be like, oh, well, I don't know. So I think at least bringing up that question could be interesting. But then they don't have to do anything further with that, to be honest.
ridiculous and feels like a gimmick if they ever want to make her a champion in the game. It's not impossible that Jinx would make it that way, as it does feel like a very Jinx design, but the problem is that Savika keeps the arm rather than get a new one. The arm has a bitey head at the end of it rather than actual articulated fingers. Doesn't she want to replace it?
I could not care less about the shit that he says about her being a champion in the game, but no, Savika doesn't want to replace it because she likes what it does for her in combat. And I explain in more detail how this is good for both Jinx and Savika's character in my video about Arcane Season 2 once again. And I will play that small section from my video. And the scene that follows this up is fantastic. Jinx running away, crying in emotion after what she just saw with her sister, and as she gets jumped running away, I fucking love the line of dialogue where the rat guy says, "Never thought I'd catch you blubbering, wonder if Silco oversaw that." And she says twice, once when I met him and once when I killed him. He asks, "You?" in confusion, and Jinx says, "It's always me. Whether I'm the one pulling the pin or not, everyone who gets close to me dies." Another scene that touches upon the fact that Jinx doesn't like who she is, but she still accepts it and acts in her typical manner. And as Savika comes around the corner, Jinx throws her the new arm that she just made for her. And this scene just has so much sauce and subtle character stuff that's just easy to miss. Jinx makes
Yeah, I think the simple answer is Savika just likes the arm. Okay, I'm gonna skip this. This is way too much.
Heimerdinger's opinions and the conversations he really should have with Jace don't happen and are never addressed, such as his thoughts on the attack on the council in which his longtime colleagues died, the attack at the memorial, Jace stabbing him in the back by voting him off the council, any newfound insights he might have after visiting the Undercity and seeing the poverty and crime there. The character is now nothing more than comic relief.
Heimerdinger's whole arc in Season 1 was to not be like what you're describing, and see his criticism of Jace and, things that can go bad and have gone bad from a different perspective, because not everyone has as much time to live as he does. I've seen multiple people make this same criticism, and it's just blatant that you don't get Heimerdinger's arc from Season 1. So why would he now start talking with Jace about any of those things? Especially when it could lead to an argument in which Heimerdinger wouldn't want, and they have something that could be a bigger problem that they need to deal with right now. Like, literally all of those things just backtrack on Heimerdinger's character and would take focus away from their task at hand, which is vastly more important to figure out. And he's not just comic relief, he's being more lighthearted, because like he says to Echo, "Since I've met you, you've shown me what it truly means to live." So he's not so uptight.
That's a good point, that Echo point right there. I think there should have been more of Heimerdinger in the show, and the writers did say, or at least Christian Linke or whatever did say, like, they wanted to focus on like characters they wanted to focus on. Which, focus on whoever you want to focus on, do whatever you want to do. But, it's a story, so I think you should give certain characters a certain amount of time, and I think they did underrepresent Heimerdinger there, but
Tight and anxious all the time like he was previously.
He's basically a throwaway character who does almost nothing the entire season, as though the writers never planned what they were going to do with him after Season 1 and would have preferred he wasn't there messing up their story.
Yeah, he totally doesn't help Echo escape from the other universe, and he totally doesn't impact Echo's character at all in Episode 7. Totally doesn't do that at all, which is very important, but okay. And genuinely, what else do we need from Heimerdinger this season? I genuinely don't know what else we needed from him.
Episode 3 finally got the name right. Another music video intro. Gassing the Undercity with the Grey is a war.
But at the same time with Heimerdinger, he wasn't even that important in Season 1 as well. It is kind of a double-edged sword. Not double-edged sword, but it's kind of just like, I want more of him. I think there should have been more of him, but also there wasn't that much of him in Season 1 in general.
crime, but the seriousness of it is downplayed and ignored. Remember, this isn't just tear gas. The gas causes permanent, long-term health problems like cancer, as demonstrated by Victor and shown in Caitlin's review of the Kierman archives. It's also out of character for Vi to agree to flood her home with deadly gas without explanation, although it could have been explained, but it never is.
Jesus, there's a lot to break down here. So you don't even explain how it's downplayed and or ignored when it's literally the exact opposite, and I'll get to that in a second. And it's not out of character for Vi to join, as one, they need an advantage when going to get to Jinx in the Undercity and taking down the Shimmer plants. Two, this is acknowledged in the show,
We use the Grey to clear the streets, to keep people safe.
We never thought my sister
Okay, whether or not it's out of character for Vi to join, there should have been more build up, more reason for her to join. We should have seen that more.
would turn blue belly.
3, they literally have Jinx continuously throw this in Vi's face about what exactly the gas is doing and the fact that she's joined the Enforcers, and they show how noticeably uncomfortable Vi is by this. And she's mainly going along with the plan because she wants to be there to help Caitlyn, and she's bordering the edges between what she thinks she needs to be doing to get this done and not being actually able to go through with actually killing Jinx. You genuinely cannot read a single bit of subtext, and even direct text.
Caitlyn is obviously hateful to
Okay, so they both have points here. The gas, there should have been more cause and effect, and you could argue that the main cause and effect would be, Vi being gradually growing conscious that Caitlyn is turning into kind of just like this villain character, and that is the main cause and effect here. But there should have been more cause and effect of the Undercity being mad at Piltover, which would obviously fuel the conflict and the feud between them. That's been a big plot of Season 1 that was kind of mostly forgotten in Season 2.
towards the Zonites due to Jinx and the Memorial attack.
What kind of animals?
But shouldn't those feelings be tempered somewhat, having met Echo and the Firelights, who helped return her and the Hex Gem to Piltover? Shouldn't she know now that there are good Zonite residents?
Oh my god, man. She literally does know there's still good Zonites, but she's progressively being pushed over the edge because Jinx is getting in her head and making her very rageful. Pay attention, you moron.
For that matter,
Yeah, Caitlyn just doesn't really care. She's kind of turning into the villain here, so.
Echo seems to have been completely forgotten by everyone this season. No one mentions him. Vi, one of his best childhood friends, never even shares a single scene or line of dialogue with him.
Vi doesn't even know if Echo is alive, and she probably thinks he is dead. The last time she saw him, he was in the explosion, and Vi has a lot of stuff to deal with in this season, and we do not need anything between her and Echo. You don't even provide an instance of something that they could have added with her and Echo, that we actually needed.
The Black Rose is a
One thing that I think Arcane didn't do very well in Season 1 or Season 2 is Echo's relationship with the main characters, with Jinx, with Powder when she was younger, with Vi even. It's kind of just more inferred that they're friends and everything, and that's completely fine. But since the story kind of doesn't know whether Echo should be a main character or a side character, they kind of make him important at times, but then not really. And by important, actually progressing the plot in a substantial way. And I think, but I also I'm not arguing against either or, whether he should be more important or not. I just think the story should choose one, and I think the story should have done a better job at actually showing us this friendship between them. It's kind of just said oh yeah, they were friends when they were younger, with Vi and with Jinx, and yeah, I think they didn't do a very good job with that.
a serious world and power scaling problem. As we'll see later with Mel, they can seemingly teleport themselves and anyone else into or out of any location, trap them in a cosmic pocket dimension, and can kill people with magic whip chains. And Bessa really shouldn't have any defense against them and should just get killed immediately, but then the story would.
So the reason why I talked about Echo like that is because Colin here says that we don't really need to see anything. No, I think we do, and he makes a good point that maybe she thinks he's dead, but that can also be brought up. That's kind of just making stuff up in a sense. It's kind of just it's not even inferring anything. It's just literally just oh well, I want to defend Arcane here, so I'm gonna say this. This could be the case, and it very well could be the case. And that's just one thing that annoyed me with season 2. It's kind of we don't, even at the ending, it's kind of Mel doesn't be oh, where's Jace or anything. We don't get to see her thinking that, or Vi being oh, where's Echo, or anybody being where's anybody, and Echo being where's my friends from the city he was trying to build. I don't remember what it was trying to use, Zon or not Zon, but whatever he was trying to build. He doesn't go to them and everything, and people can be oh well, that's just happened off camera and everything. And yeah, it did happen off. I'm guessing it did happen off camera. I'm guessing Echo didn't just live the rest of his life doing nothing and not talking to anybody for the rest of his life. But I think it would have been more impactful for us as audience just to see that, just to like not be constantly told that they have this relationship with each other instead, but we actually see it.
Be over.
First of all, Ambessa literally has runes that block magic attacks. Second of all, we literally see only one of the Black Rose members be able to teleport someone, being Mel. And also, Mel was never taken to some pocket dimension. She was put in an illusion somewhere away from Piltover. We also have no clue how many people she can teleport other than one, because that's all we see. And please show proof that any of the people fighting should die instantly to the magic. And mind you, in the one scene where Ambessa is caught lacking, the Black Rose member is toying with her and rubbing it in her face, because that member is arrogant and rubbing it in her face.
Vi's
I don't know. I disagree here. Ambessa should have died. She should have died in season 1. If Black Rose has always been against her, where were these magic rocks in season 1? Where were these magic rocks when, in other situations where they weren't involved in the scenes, right? She clearly didn't have them in the fight in season 2, or maybe they got shot off or something or destroyed. I can't remember. I think she did have them, but maybe something happened to them. But there were so many situations where Ambessa doesn't have them, and she could have just like died. And then Colin kind of implies that since we only see that Mel was the only one that was like teleporting and stuff, that it's possible that she's the only one who could be teleported. I think that's just illogical there. Why would you? And if that is what he's implying, maybe I just misread him. But why would you assume that only the Black Rose can only teleport Mel? And obviously we don't see proof otherwise. That the Black Rose can teleport anyone, but like I don't know why you would think they can only teleport Mel though. Like, you would think they would be able to teleport themselves and literally anybody, whoever they want, unless if they have like these green magic rocks or whatever, these runes or whatever they are. And yeah, I think there's just so many times where Ambessa could have died. I think they could have also done a better job with the Black Rose storyline with actually building that up, but there was so many things that they were doing in season 2 that there was so much stuff that they didn't do. My English it's the morning.
Rationale for ditching the other 3 enforcers is nonsensical.
I think we should cut the others loose. Jinx is gonna have surprises in store for us.
What? Legitimate reasons the writers could have used to get rid of them. One of them is injured and can't go on or must go back. In fact, Shield Guy is actually injured by one of Jinx's booby traps. They have to escort prisoners back to Piltover or guard them, which they actually do. They get caught up fighting.
Yeah, I found this a little weird. How what was the point of bringing these 3 dudes on the journey, like writing wise, from a writing perspective and like in world perspective, from the character's perspective? What was the point of bringing these characters in if you're just gonna go in a duo and take on Jinx? But I also don't really care. It's not that big of a deal. But at the beginning of the video, I did say that nitpicks are important. So
Savika's henchmen and have to stay back to guard Caitlyn and Vi's rear as they go ahead. They come upon a large stash of Shimmer and have to guard it. No, instead, none of those reasons.
The one caveat of nitpicks being important is that some people are going to see a certain nitpick as important, some people are going to see it as not important.
Are used, and we get this nonsense.
Bro, how do you literally provide the instance of someone getting almost badly hurt who could have easily died, and you don't understand why she doesn't want them to get hurt or possibly die as they continue going after Jinx, and Vi starts to get more level-headed about this. Mind you, this is directly after the scene where she literally sees dolls that.
Yeah, so one person got hurt, so that means that either he could have walked off alone, or maybe the fish dude could have helped him bring him back, and then it could have been Maddie, Caitlyn, and Vi to go and attack Jinx. They didn't all have to leave.
Jinx puts up, and a dude being.
But they do bring up a reason for kind of letting them all leave, and I think it was kind of Vi who doesn't really want to necessarily fight Jinx and everything. Her convincing one person to not kill Jinx, which would be Caitlyn, is much easier than convincing Maddie and Caitlyn not to kill Jinx. So from Vi's perspective, in that sense, it does make sense.
Tortured by the gas, and she doesn't want her team members to be used against her for Jinx to have an upper hand. It's a pretty simple line of logic to follow.
And she does, even though she does tell Caitlyn oh hey, if you have the shot, take the shot. But the fact that she says that, which one would think oh, she wants to kill Jinx, but the fact that she says that kind of proves that she doesn't want to kill Jinx, that she knows that she doesn't have the capability to kill Jinx herself.
A character flaw for Vi. She does the same thing to Caitlyn in season 1 when she leaves Caitlyn behind so that she doesn't get hurt and teams up with Jace to go take down one of the Shimmer plants and Silco. And the only reason she doesn't tell Caitlyn to go as well is because she knows she won't, and Vi again wants to be there to protect Caitlyn so she doesn't die going after Jinx alone. This guy can literally not understand anything. This shit is is insane.
Why were the other two Enforcer characters besides Maddie even introduced in the first place when they're mostly sidelined and have no relevance to the story?
Did bro unironically just ask why super side characters were sidelined?
You gotta really look yourself in the mirror and work on your game, young man.
And
I disagree here with Colin. Yes, they're side characters. They don't need like a big storyline or anything, but they're shown to be more important than normal side characters. Because look at Milo and Claggart. They were side characters, but they were still more important. They still had a personality and everything. You could say Maddie had a personality, but what about the fish dude? What about Loris? And there's the scene where Loris is in the well. He's drinking, and Vi's also drinking, and then Maddie says some stuff, and Loris kind of like looks right, and then he like pretends to be drunk and everything. That kind of implies that like there's something deeper going on, and fans were like, including myself, were like, oh my goodness, is Loris a double agent, is whatever, blah blah blah. And I thought there was going to be a bigger storyline with him. Nothing happened. It's not that big of a deal, to be honest, like nothing actually happening with them, but it is a little kind of annoying, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to be like, oh, Arcane Season 2 is trash because of that or anything. I'd say it maybe adds on to it, but that's not the biggest thing in the world. It's not the end of the world.
what is the problem with introducing small characters that don't have much of an impact on the story? By this logic, it's a problem in Season 1.
The problem is that they give them screen time. Is that they do give them screen time, but they don't do anything.
On that Jace's mom was introduced as a
And by screen time, I mean like screen time where it's just them alone, like with no other main characters.
character, or Caitlyn's parents. And both of these characters do have relevance to the story, just not a very big one, in the same way that the characters that I just mentioned do from Season 1. This reminds me of this argument that some other idiot
And another problem with those characters is that they do put them in storylines where they could have been more important. With, for example, Maddie with Caitlyn, that could have been a bigger storyline. That could have, and I think another problem that fans have with these characters is that they did want more from them. They wanted to see something that was, you know, what they wanted. What they wanted more from them, but they didn't get more from them. I think that's another problem. But yes, they put them in storylines where they could have had more of a deeper character, but they didn't.
tried to make on our last Disagreement Day stream. I'll play a small segment from that. This only explains the big guy's relevance to the story. I don't really care to explain Maddie's relevance to the story because if you watch the show, you know what her relevance is. I feel like I don't need to explain that shit.
I think Loris as a character, the big guy with the shield that Caitlyn, that Caitlyn recruits or whatever, I think he was a wasted character. I don't understand what the point of his character was or anything like that. I think they just added that whole group. You know, he's always out there helping Vi and stuff when she was going down her spiral. I think he was a wasted character, to be honest.
No.
Okay, and then there's the plot from Chekhov that says if you put like a gun in the room, whatever, it has to fire by Act 3. I don't necessarily agree with that. It's just like if you put something and you kind of hint that it's bigger in the story, unless if it's a red herring, you could do a red herring. But they didn't. The Arcane writers weren't purposely. I don't believe that the Arcane writers were trying to make these characters like red herrings, like, oh, they're gonna be more important, but then they end up not being important. I think they just introduced them for whatever reason, because if you could have, because Colin said here like, oh, well, I don't need to explain Maddie's reason for being in this story. Sure, but if you took her out and then just changed a few things, it wouldn't have done anything. Wouldn't have changed anything. So I don't know. It's just like, why? I don't know. Because you can have side characters. Yes, you can have side characters. But it's just like, you don't want to hint at something, put something in a story and then hint at it being deeper or more important and then not do anything with it. It's kind of like if they forgot about it.
He wasn't helping Vi. He left her.
No, he was helping Vi.
No,
when Vi was going downhill or whatever, he was there to support her and get her to her apartment and stuff.
Yeah, he was there. He was there to like bring her to her apartment and stuff. But like he leaves. He still leaves her at the end of the day. Like that's what that visual shows her. Well,
he can't help her. She pushes him away, is what I'm saying, and he's not going to be the one that saves her anyway.
Yeah, because we know they do that visual storytelling. He wasn't supposed to be like some big character or whatever. Like he was used for someone that Vi would push away.
No, okay, I get that, but what was the point? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, he was used for Vi for someone to push away, but like Vi's already pushed away and everybody else we can see. I mean, I guess he doesn't have really a relationship with anyone, to be honest. But even if we just had that like kind of like cutscene or, you know, music video, if you want to call it, with her like fighting and getting drunk and everything, we still kind of, and take away Loris, we still kind of get the same meaning from it as well.
Like, why even introduce?
I just explained the point.
No, but yeah, okay, he's here to just die in a very anticlimactic way, what was the point of following him is the point, is like what I'm trying to say. Like, why even introduce him? We can see Vi go downhill without his involvement, because he ultimately doesn't affect her character arc. He ultimately doesn't have any interactions with any other.
Another problem with the story is we don't know why they like each other, like in a friendship type of way. We don't know why they connect with each other, other than, hey, they're both like probably at a bad point in their lives. And Colin would probably say, if you watch this, would probably say, oh well, we don't need to see that. We can infer certain things. Yeah, we can, but I don't know. It's just like that's what like writers. It's just kind of like a cop out. That's what Arcane especially season 2, kind of just does. It kind of just infers all these relationships, and it's like, why are you doing this? I actually want to see this relationship, even if it's just like a few scenes of like actual connection between them getting drunk together, and like not. If you go outside and you just talk, and you're like at a bad point in your life, and you just meet a homeless dude, are you just gonna be like really good friends after that? Maybe, but like there has to be more than just one conversation.
Character.
I mean, I disagree with that because, like, I feel like I already explained it, but I'll kind of explain it again. Her having someone trying to help her from, like, topside, specifically topside, it not only shows the whole, like, she's pushing away the, thought in Vander's head, and the thing that even gets her back is Vander. That's the thing that gets her back to growing as a character. So I think having someone there that she can push away, especially being an enforcer, that she kind of came to grow somewhat of a relationship with, and
but we don't see that relationship though. That's the thing. And you could say like, oh well, we never saw Jinx and Powder's relationship when they were younger, because they were just like we just immediately saw them as friends, right? Or like Vi with Milo and Claggart and everything. We just like immediately like understood and knew that they were friends. But like this is different though, because this we like actually see them meet for the first time and everything.
As time progresses, as she continues to get more and more depressed, continues drinking and stuff, she pushes that person away. She pushes that connection.
But again, I actually don't really care about this. Like, if you're not annoyed or don't care about them not being as important, important characters, it is what it is.
Between the Undercity and Topside away, I feel like that's kind of what it represents. I don't think that character needs much more than he got.
When did they focus on him? Give me the sequence of scenes where they focused on him specifically.
What is the I think a better question to ask is, what is the problem with?
So also just one thing with bringing in side characters are meant to either push a theme in the story, or to give the main characters a certain perspective that they weren't seeing before, or to kind of mirror, like let's say one character is spiraling, or the main character is spiraling out of control, and they meet another character who's a side character who's also like spiraling out of control, and then they kind of see that character and be like, oh yo, that's literally me. But this is exactly what I'm doing, but this person maybe is doing it worse, whatever, but I will end up in that person's shoes. I will end up in that way. And maybe that side character dies or something, and then they change, or maybe they don't change. And they continue to spiral out of control, whatever. But we have to see something like that. And he talks about, Loris kind of being like Vander and everything in a way, but that's just like the only similarities between Loris and Vander is like their appearance, kinda. That doesn't matter.
With anything, any story, introducing just a semi-side character that's not supposed to be that important, and they fill the role perfectly fine for what the story needs them to do. What's the problem with that?
I don't think he fits the role perfectly. That's my gripe. I don't think that they gave him enough for him to be impactful. The fact that you don't even remember the way he dies, and the fact that you're...
Okay, I'm just gonna push forward because this in the recording it's already an hour long, so I'm just gonna keep.
The mirror fake out sucks and makes no sense. The mirror is somehow standing upright on its own before being shot and falling over. There's a layer of dust or fog obscuring Jinx's reflection, which isn't present anymore after the mirror is shot.
I think I just lost every brain cell in my skull listening to him say this shit. Like, genuinely, what are these criticisms? Dog. The whole area is foggy, including the area where we see Caitlyn's scope aiming in from, which, would enhance how foggy it looks. And the mirror literally moves back from where it originally was when it was shot, and genuinely explain to me why it's impossible for the mirror to stand up on its own. Like, this shit is actually insane.
Given where Jinx actually is when we see her reflection, eventually seeing her standing on top of this pillar, the mirror shouldn't be reflecting her, and even if it did, the reflection should be smaller and at an angle. Based on the reflection we see, Jinx should either be standing in front of Vi or between Vi and Caitlyn.
She literally could have set it up in an angle. She could have had another mirror aimed at the other mirror so that the reflections connect. And she could have also moved when the mirror was shot. And you do realize that some reflective surfaces work differently than others, right?
Yeah, but you were just saying, oh, well, she could have had another mirror reflecting and reflecting that mirror and reflecting that mirror. That's just like saying stuff that the writers probably didn't even think about, to be honest. They just wanted a cool scene. Okay, so some people, I can see some people not caring about the whole mirror reflecting thing and Jinx being out of frame and all that stuff. And you know, if you don't care, you don't care. For me personally, with nitpicks and everything, I'm more of a logical, not like, okay, when people say like logical and everything, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm like super smart or anything or anything like that, but it's just like if I'm able to see a logical inconsistency, not that I can see every or notice every logical inconsistency, but if I'm able to see one, that's gonna annoy me. But that might not annoy someone else.
Right? Like, some reflective surfaces have, like, distortions and stuff. Some have, like, bigger zoom. Some are just, like, straight up mirrors where it looks pretty much exactly how it is on the other side. Like, what it's reflecting. Like, you know how in your car, when you're driving, it'll say, like, objects in the mirror are closer than they appear? Like, reflective surfaces literally just work differently from time to time, depending on, like, the material and the type of surface it is. Like, like, I can't believe I'm listening to this.
I don't think a straw man argument is the perfect example, but this is kind of like close to it. Like it's kind of, you're just like throwing random, and like they're not wrong. Like this could be correct, but they're just kind of stuff that I don't even think the writers like ever even thought about, if I'm being completely honest.
Dude, fucking power scale a mirror. This is just, oh my god, I'm losing it.
Vi gets Jinx's head in the gauntlet, but doesn't just crush her because plot armor. She should be dead. The gauntlets can crush boulders. At this point, Vi is fighting for her life, so you can't make the argument that she doesn't want to kill her sister, and that's what's holding her back in this scene.
Even though she is fighting
Bro,
her sister.
oh my god. Vi literally is still holding back, and her fighting to stay alive doesn't mean that she's not. Guys, Spider-Man is fighting Doc Ock to stay alive in this boss fight in PS4, so you can't make the argument he's holding back. Or against any of the villains for that matter. Like, you sound so incredibly stupid. And also, Jinx is literally amped on Shimmer. What proof do you have that Jinx's head is weaker than a boulder?
Savika almost kills Caitlyn, except Jinx shoots a rocket at the exact right angle at the exact right time to knock them both over. How convenient. Speaking of, Jace, Echo, and Heimerdinger messing with the Hex Gate is coincidentally perfectly timed.
You know, I'm just gonna let it play like them talking about this fight scene. Personally, I didn't like the fight scene. I didn't like how it looked. I didn't like how it was filmed, how it was choreographed. But that's just like a personal opinion. I don't. That's not like a big flaw of Arcane Season 2 or anything. I don't really care. I'm not. That I wouldn't. If I made a critique video, I wouldn't bring this up. Okay, I think we get the point here. I'm gonna end it off here. It's interesting to see how much I actually do agree with Colin, even though I disagree, because it seems like Colin does like Season 2. I dislike Season 2. For the most part, I think there's some good ideas there. But I think they kind of fumbled it though. But it's interesting to see how much I do actually agree with him. Link to his video will be down below. Hope you guys enjoy. Subscribe, like for more, and bye. So.